What's good, Internet? It's your boy Corey from the Hardwood Herald, and we are here, episode 1 of my brand new podcast, Nothin But Net Flicks, a podcast where myself and friends are going to break down my favorite basketball films. With us today for our first episode is Jonathon Macri of Knicks Film School and Knicks SI. Jonathan, how are we doing today?
I'm good. I'm excited to, talk about a movie that is not very good, but it's entertaining. As many movies are, it's fine. And honestly, I'm honored to be your first guest on this because the work that you've been doing with like the film breakdowns of draft prospects, I gotta tell you, man, it's as good as anything out there. It's really, really good. So definitely, I appreciate you having me on.
Hey, I'm ready. Let's do this. You said that it was not a great movie. The internet seems to agree. It got an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes. Roger Ebert, 1.5 stars. Also, not the best. But you know what? I do think it is a good basketball movie for a time where we don't actually have basketball going on. It's enjoyable, like you said. Basically, for anybody who hasn't seen it, if you're a Knicks fan, I feel like you need to watch it. Because I do think that one of the things they do a very good job with is it's very authentically New York Knicks from the 90s. Basically, Whoopi Goldberg is a super fan. She wins a contest to become coach for the half, sit on the bench, ends up taking over, becoming the head coach, takes a ragtag group of guys, turns them around, gets them to the playoffs. That's your that's your synopsis. But in there are really good, like, Knicks tropes in there that I was, the director, the writer, I tried researching it a little bit. I couldn't really find anything on the internet, but, like, you kind of really had to be a Knicks fan and a basketball fan to, pull off some of the things they did.
Yeah, it's funny. So I've been a Knicks fan since I was, 1990. I started watching like 92, 93, that season. And this movie came out in 96. Yeah. So, I had no reason not to see it. And I remember when it came out and I just think, I was young.
Of course.
My parents didn't take me to see it, whatever. So, and I just never made it a point to watch it until you got in touch with me. And I'm like, all right, well, I've always wanted to watch this movie anyway. And like, it's a trip because there's people showing up left and right.
Oh, yeah.
Who you don't expect to see, and I'm sure we'll talk about some of them. But yeah, I think to your point, it's interesting because I think it really taps into this idea that, like, as a lot of movies do, like Major League is the first one that comes to my mind with the Indians and Cleveland, but there's a million other ones where it's like this team means so much to the city that it transcends like how good the team is playing or anything like that. And it's interesting because I like the way you put it, that it harkened back to the 90s because there was a time when Knicks basketball was as important as anything in the city. And this movie came out in 96. It was,
right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it was like, 94, obviously everybody thinks MSG, Rangers, Knicks. But that was that feeling was still tangible. And like 96, it was starting to turn because the Yankees had made the push again. And obviously when the Yankees are good, it's it dominates everything. But
big time.
Yeah, but there is a world where basketball is the most important thing in New York City. And this movie, in a weird way, kind of did capture that.
Yeah. I mean, like, there's little touches here and there. Like, Whoopi's character, Eddie, she wears a Willis Reed jersey to the game. She wears, an Earl Monroe jersey to the game. She's doing, like, on her answering machine. If you want to get in touch with her, by the way, for anybody too young to know what an answering machine is, basically it's old school voicemail.
There was actually a thing where you had to put in a tape, and then once the tape got full, I realized should I explain what a tape is? You had to erase the tape, and it was a whole thing.
But she's leaving like trivia questions that are like really like niche New York Knicks trivia questions. So if you're just approaching it as like an outsider, you don't really understand how like, you know, kind of like in depth and in touch you had to be with the city, with the team to appreciate it. So I did think that was cool, and they did a really good job of that.
But the one thing I just want to throw in there is, and I'm going to get back to this because I have some nitpicks here. When the movie opens, unless I misheard it, it said that they are 14-39.
Oh yeah,
that's the record of the Knicks when the movie opens.
We're gonna
what's that?
We'll get to. Well, yeah, we're
gonna get there. But like the notion, and you know, they show all these clips of like people in whatever bars and in like cabs, like, hey, put the Knick game on. Yeah. Like I'm thinking back to the 17-win season from a few years ago. If you walked into a bar and a Knick game was on, people were like, shut it off. So again, I think maybe a lot has changed in terms of like basketball and the consciousness of the city, but yeah, it was nice to feel that feeling again watching this.
Yeah, and like if we're gonna go through it chronologically, to start off, one of the things I thought was kind of cool is that Eddie is, you know, she's a limo driver, she's at her job, she's in her office, and she's doing her own like talk radio show. You know, she's doing like basically like a precursor to a podcast, doing live play-by-play for her fans. And I kind of thought that was fitting too. And that was one of the things that held up, I think, the best, that she was kind of like ahead of the game in the like DIY, do-it-yourself like media. Like she would have like a massive following online if this movie was set in 2020. If she was like that dedicated to the craft, she would probably have like a big following.
Yeah, I was wondering when she was doing that. I was like, I guess she's doing the play-by-play for the other limo drivers that are out there, like, you know, and she's like the dispatcher. But meanwhile, you had, so we should get this out of the way first. You had all of the, like a bunch of major people, but they were in different roles because you had Marv, he was doing, I think, I couldn't tell. Was Marv doing TV or was he doing radio? I don't think that was ever really clear.
I feel like he was doing TV. But you're right. Okay. Yeah.
And then you had Walt. There were a lot of funny things about this movie. Walt Frazier basically, I think he was essentially like a Mike Francesa, like a host of a call-in show, right? Yeah. On WFAN. And then you had also Boomer from ESPN doing that too. Man.
Which by the way, the fan theme song, it hits. Like growing up in New York, you hear the theme song for the fan. Like today, 20 years, like that. It just hits you. It's like very nostalgic feeling, you know, like growing up listening to Mike the Mad Dog.
It's fantastic.
Just watching that over again, I'm like, I love it. I love it. So, you know, I touched on it. Eddie's a limo driver. This is where she meets Wild Bill for the first time. So Wild Bill is the team owner, takes over, brand new, just bought the team. He's from Texas, basically a cowboy. And my question to you is, if you had a choice, would you take Wild Bill or James Dolan?
Oh boy. That's a tough one. I mean, I don't want to spoil anything, but by the end he tries to move the team. Tries to move the team. He seems to only care about making money. Which I feel like in 2020, if you like, I can't believe I'm saying this. I think I might rather have Dolan.
Ooh, W for James Dolan.
I mean, let's also like touch on the elephant in the room, which is the absurdity of the premise of this movie.
Sure.
Which is that he pulls a fan from the stands to coach the team, and she clearly is not qualified to do this, all because he doesn't want to pay his coach.
Right.
It's fantastic.
James Dolan, he does pay coaches. If we're gonna,
well, I mean, pretty soon he's gonna be paying what, 3 coaches at the same time? I think.
Yeah. Who knows at this point? Bobby Bonilla is getting paid in New York still. So who knows how many people are on the Knicks?
I've lost track, to be honest with you.
Let's talk about the Knicks coaching before we get into the movie start.
Yeah, sure.
The movie stuff. Are you a Tibbs guy? Are you an Atkinson guy?
Gosh.
Or is there a wild card?
I'd be happy with either. I'm firmly in camp anybody but Kid.
I'm with you there.
Yeah. I think they're both good coaches. I think they have very different styles about how they approach the job. But like, Tibbs is, he's Tibbs. He eats, bleeds, sleeps, sweats, pisses, shits, all, he doesn't have a wife. He doesn't have kids. It's like basketball is his whole life, which I kind of find appealing. As opposed to the coach in this movie who apparently just can't be bothered. Yeah, I think I'm in Camp Tibbs, but it's close. I've actually been spending a lot of my time watching, in addition to this movie, watching film from his Wolves teams and his Bulls teams. I think the only conclusion that I've reached is that you can't have a good defense anymore if you have bad defensive players. That's about as far as I've gotten.
That's a pretty good anecdote, I think.
Yeah.
I have a soft spot. I'm a Bulls fan, so I have a huge soft spot for Tibbs. Obviously, with everything going on with the Bulls right now, I long for the days of Tom Thibodeau on the side. Yeah. But he really is like the perfect New York personality. He's not going to be bullied, intimidated by anybody. He's going to do things his way. And whatever the Knicks' current roster, obviously it's going to change a little bit going forward, but whatever they have inside of them, I know that he's going to bring out the most. That might not be great or even good, but I know he'll get the most out of it. So,
well, no, I think, I always hesitate to use the word core and Knicks in the same sentence because I don't think anybody is good enough on this team to qualify as a core piece. Yeah. No offense to anybody who's like, RJ Barrett's a future All-NBA player or whatever. I like RJ. I love Mitch. They're really good. They're really good young players, intriguing, all that stuff. That said, they're the closest thing you have to a core. So I think it is important to get a coach that can make the most out of them. And I definitely think Tibbs, you give him Mitch. It's funny. We don't talk about this fellow. He's never had a center like Mitch, like a rim protector like Mitchell Robinson.
No.
Joe Noah obviously won Defensive Player of the Year, but he was like a weird, I don't know what you call Joe Noah on the Bulls. He was a weird kind of amalgamation.
We called him a point center.
Yeah. No, he did everything. And Mitch is a little different, but he's, Mitch is good. So, I think I wonder if Tibbs was the coach in Eddie, would he have gone about things the same way as Dennis Farina, who, by the way, talk about a star turn. Oh boy. Good old Dennis Farina, man. I was that was fun. That was good times.
You know what? What's interesting about his career is that, have you ever seen the movie Little Big League?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. It's the same character.
I think Dennis Farina plays Dennis Farina in everything he's been in for the last 30 years.
It was literally a baseball team getting replaced by a little kid instead of a fan.
It's just
early on as a coach. So pretty good.
Yeah, he was fantastic, and I'm glad that Dennis Farina is now. That's a good question, Dennis Farina or Jason Kidd. I don't know who I'd rather have coach this team.
Well, here's my next question: should the Knicks abandon the Thibodeau route? Should they abandon the Atkinson route? Could we find somebody on NBA Twitter that is just in love with the Knicks and just have an online Twitter contest?
That's, it's funny because that's what this movie is present day. I'm just, I'm like trying to flesh this out. It's funny because there's so much that goes into coaching an NBA team like now.
Yeah. And
that has nothing to do with X's and O's because, like, these guys, as has been said by many, these guys are like brands unto themselves.
Yeah.
And talk about this movie being, dare I say, a little ahead of its time. They did kind of nail that. It's like you can't just come in and like coach these guys like you're coaching a little league team or a high school team or a college team. it's like they're gonna practice when they want. They're gonna like whatever, and then they have some fun at the expense of that storyline. But like, man, I do not want to throw my hat in the ring for Knicks Twitter coach.
You're out.
I'm out.
Do we have anybody you want to nominate for this?
I would nominate Dallas Amico of Posting and Toasting.
Okay.
He is a very smart basketball mind. I don't know that he quite has the gravitas that like RJ Barrett and Julius Randle are going to listen to him, but he's a good basketball mind, so I nominate him.
All right. So one of my biggest gripes with a lot of basketball movies is like, do the basketball films actually hold up? Like, do they work? And basically every basketball scene in this movie includes an NBA player.
Yeah. So
this is one of the rare movies that I think the basketball scenes actually are pretty legit.
Yeah, I think so. It's like obviously there's some storylines that they're driving home here, like the typical like the archetype of like the dopey European who doesn't play defense, which as I think to your video of like. I think you did a video of Denny Avdija, right?
Oh yeah.
I think we could bury that trope at this point.
Yeah.
And then you have I always forget his name, the ball hog.
Stacey Patton.
Stacey Patton, there you go.
Malik Sealy, man.
No, hold on. There's the ball hog. Malik Sealy plays the guy that is like comes off the bench later when he has the bad knees, right? That's
John Sally.
That's okay. Sorry,
yeah,
I got
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, mixed up.
So John Sally's like he's cool. I like John Sally in this movie. I didn't realize that was Malik Sealy.
Yeah, man. Look, Malik Sealy. Like my my grandpa went to St. John's. My uncle went to St. John's. He actually roomed for the semester that he went before he failed out. He actually roomed with Jason Williams.
Oh, word.
Not the big one. Like the.
Yeah, no, I know.
So I grew up. Malik Sealy's St. John's team. That was the first live basketball game I ever went to.
I swear to God, I didn't recognize him, and I for some reason I just assumed that was just an actor, not like an NBA player. But wow. Well, anyway, he's a ball hog to like. I'm trying to think of the extreme if there's like a comparable NBA player to compare him to the amount of ball hoggery.
Oh man.
I mean, Julius Randle at times on this year's Knicks is close.
Well, how about Rick Fox? Rick Fox's character at one point says that it was hard to go out there and play the team game with somebody going 8 for 30.
8 for 38. I was like, and I meant to look up how many people in the league this year took 38 field goal attempts, and I didn't get a chance to. I can't imagine it was that many.
The only person who could come close that I could think of would be Westbrook.
Yeah, it's like,
Harden. That would be like, but if Harden went 8 for 38, he'd also have like 19 free throws.
But that's the thing. He took 38 shots for a last place team. They were, I believe that was in the midst of the losing streak after she initially took over.
Yeah.
But they make him out to be like this superstar player. I'm like, dude, if you're a superstar player, your team doesn't have this record. Although 20 years later, fast forward and look at Melo on the 17-win Knicks in 2000, whatever the year
16,
was.
17,
I think 14, 15, whatever that. Yeah, because 13, 14, 15. Okay. Yeah, that was 17 wins. So I guess it can happen.
But even Melo was still a good player at that. Like Stacey Patton's kind of trash.
He is trash.
He gets benched, and nobody's like, making a big deal of the fact that he gets. If you have an all-star, you straight up bench him. Like in New York, the media is going nuts every day.
But how great is that the moment they bench him, that's literally the only thing it takes to turn them around. Fantastic.
And they were on like a 20-game losing streak, like 20 plus games.
They said so. Can we talk about the record?
Yeah. Well, we could talk about that now.
Okay. So, I'm still a lawyer at heart, and I am a stickler for details. So they say at the beginning they're 14 and 39. That's when we meet them.
Okay.
They lose that night, And so that brings them, I guess, to 14-40. Then they mentioned a 7-game losing streak after Eddie takes over. So that brings them to 14-47, at which point they turn it around and make the playoffs.
Yeah.
To go from 14-47 to the playoffs, I was looking at it at you're gonna laugh at this. So I actually looked up what are the worst winning percentages to make the playoffs.
Okay.
You did have the Spurs in 1988. They went 31-51. Now that was in a 25-team NBA.
Okay.
So 16 out of 25 made it. But even that, these Knicks would have had to go 16-4. That's a tall ask.
That is a tall ask. And I looked up. So I'm assuming this movie came out in '96. Muggsy Bogues is hurt.
Yeah.
So I went and looked at the Hornets roster. So that was the 95-96 season.
Yes.
Okay. First of all,
27 teams then, which makes it harder to make the playoffs.
That's peak Larry Johnson, by the way. He was 28, 4.5, 37% from three, like unreal. But that team went 41-41, and they were the 9th seed.
There you go.
As missing the playoffs with peak Larry Johnson. So it does match up that the Hornets did get the 9th seed in that year, but the records are a little iffy.
Yeah, like in 95, the Celtics made it with a 35-47 record, but again, the Knicks would have had to go end the season on like a 32 or 31 game winning streak. But
the math doesn't really check out there.
I wonder if this movie is what got Larry Johnson traded to the Knicks. Do you think
he was,
because he got traded for Anthony Mason, who talk about bringing a tear to my eye.
Oh my God,
seeing Mason in the playground, man, with John Starks and Herb Williams.
The playground scene is fantastic.
Yeah.
The worst defense Gary Payton's ever played.
Dude, he's like he puts one move on him and that's it. He goes to the basket.
He's frozen, and he said that he was he played in the Final Four with Michigan. I think it was the Final Four with Michigan 4 years ago. It was something like that, and he's just literally a statue, just absolutely atrocious. But that scene's great, and
it is a good scene.
Gary Payton and Anthony Mason. I'm trying to think all time how many trash-talking duos are better than those two guys.
Oof. I mean, Starks, I think, even thought of himself as a trash talker from time to time, even though...
I don't know how he didn't get a line in the movie.
They have him right there, and like you couldn't give old Herb Williams a line. Come on, man, Herb, it's Herb.
But yeah.
No, man, Mace, I think, was a pretty good trash talk. But I mean, Gary Payton's Gary Payton. I liked the LJ trash talking in the last, like LJ's trash talking like in the final minute of that game. That was, and you had who else did you have? You had some Rodman trash talking in this movie.
Avery Johnson.
Oh my God! Can we please talk about the coaching tree for the Spurs in that scene? Because the Spurs featured both Avery Johnson and Vinny Del Negro. Going back to my first NBA game, I was the San Antonio Spurs versus the Orlando Magic in San Antonio. Robinson versus Shaq. Okay. Wow.
I was like, my uncle was in the Air Force. We were visiting him. We went to that game. I loved Vinny Del Negro because I thought he had the coolest name ever. I was like,
I want to say Del Negro and Avery Johnson hold the distinction of having like two of the 3 or 4 highest winning percentages amongst coaches this century, to be like not under any consideration ever for a head coaching job, which speaks to just how wonderfully they did at their respective stops. Also
the only coach probably this decade, century, who was choked by his general manager.
Well, yeah, that's there you go. That's something.
By his general manager. Obviously, we have Sprewell choking his coach, but management to coach. I think Del Negro's got that one covered.
Yeah, he has to. Vinny Del Negro, man, keep stomping those feet on the sideline. Yeah, but that was a nice scene. I liked Vinny and Avery too together.
Yeah, the whole movie. I mean, you had Daughtry.
Yeah,
he was talking some trash. You had Vlade, prime Vlade, Lakers Vlade.
And the coach of the Lakers. How can we not mention
Kurt Rambis?
A young legend. Kurt Rambis,
Knicks legend.
This movie really did have it all. There were some things that I felt bad, like Mark Jackson being overly religious.
Very on the nose.
I mean, did he help write the screenplay?
I mean, his character's nickname was Preacher, so
yeah.
So he definitely, I'm sure he had a say in that. He was like, I'll be in the movie, but I got to, I got to be Preacher. I'm sure.
And did you catch what he's reading on the plane?
No.
That would be the Bible.
No, yeah, I'm sure he's always got it handy.
Hey, listen, it's again true to form.
Very realistic. This is a movie based on real scenarios in life. And speaking of which, I think one of the craziest parts about this movie is that coming out in 1996, part of it being outrageous, ignoring the fact that, a fan is selected to be the head coach of the New York Knicks, is that the fan is a black woman.
Yeah.
And that was part, you have the scene with the street interviews, you got the construction guy saying, I wouldn't want to play for a woman. Rudy Giuliani takes a rare W in the film, getting behind the idea. But, it's crazy that we're almost 30 years removed from this film, and we have yet to have a woman head coach.
It's funny you say that. I looked at it from the opposite perspective, which is that we are less than 30 years removed from a place where I can't believe I think this is me being optimistic, which I have not been a lot of over the last several months, let me tell you, about just the world and society. But we could have as the premise of a movie 25 years ago that the idea of a black woman coaching a professional basketball team was absurd.
Yeah.
And that it was so absurd that it sold a movie in which if you were going to see, aside from Knicks fans, right, or general NBA fans, if you were going to see this movie, it was like they put a black woman in charge of a basketball team. Yeah. That was 25 years ago, which isn't that long, right?
Yeah, it's not that long.
So I does that count as progress?
Yeah, no, and look,
I don't know.
To your point, we also have seen, a lot of women enter the coaching ranks in the NBA as assistant coaches.
Yes.
That, I think are being considered in some capacity for jobs. Maybe they're, not one of the top candidates, but Becky Hammon's always being mentioned as, a possible coach.
She was my choice for, if I had my druthers, that would be her.
You get Teresa Weatherspoon is in the Kara Lawson. She just took the Duke job, but she was with the Celtics. So, there are really great women all over the league. So that is progress. That is a step in the right direction. And like you said, 25 years, it's a long time, but it goes fast. I guess we're in the right direction, but it's almost crazy that premise was part of the premise of this is outrageous, this thing. Yeah. And we still haven't seen a head coach. And I do think that it's going to happen soon, but is it 5 years? Is it 3?
I would be utterly shocked if it doesn't happen within 5 years. I think it'll happen within 3 years.
Yeah.
For sure. I don't think it'll happen. I don't think it'll happen this offseason because I don't think there's going to be a ton of jobs opening this offseason.
No.
But I think within the next couple of years. And God, speaking of Europeans with the reputation for not defending, although he was a damn good defender. And it's a shame that his reputation is probably not as such. Pau Gasol spoke up for Becky Hammon's candidacy a few years ago when he wrote that piece for the Players Tribune. Like, you read what he wrote, like the fact that this is it shouldn't even be an issue.
Right.
That a person is, it's like, just hire the best basketball mind for the job. And the person who you think is going to, it's, and like there's a scene in the movie where she walks in the showers.
Yeah.
And like, there's a genitalia joke that I can't believe got in the movie 25 years ago. But like,
it's a comedy. It is kind of comedy. That's fair. But like, I think I don't those silly, like, how is a woman going to be in the locker room type of thing. Like, really? Like, is anyone's, maybe there are some people who are still using that as an argument. But I don't think the players feel that way.
I don't think so either. I really don't.
To your point with the way Powell spoke of Becky Hammon, I think that the way, if you saw recently, the Celtics all were so excited for Carol Lawson. They all wore a Duke shirt. So, I think all the players, if there's a female coach on staff, they all respect that person as much so as they would, anybody else going to be a coach. So I hope that in 3 years, some organization is brave enough to, give someone a shot.
I think someone will. I don't know. I don't know if I was taking bets on who it would be. I don't know. I mean, Pop is going to walk away at some point.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Could be there. I don't know. Yeah. We'll see. All right. Let's get back to all of the NBA guys on this Knicks roster.
Okay.
So we're going to make a starting five. All right. We got Mark Jackson at point.
Yes.
Malik Sealy at shooting guard.
Yeah.
Rick Fox at small forward.
Yeah.
Okay, we got John Sally at power forward.
Greg. Although Sally's on the bench for a while, but yeah, eventually he's power forward.
We're gonna use not their personas, the real legit team.
Okay.
Okay. So Ostertag at center, Sally at power forward, Fox small forward, Malik Sealy at shooting guard, Mark Jackson. Hypothetically, how does that team fare in the 95-96 season? Now, this is the 72-10 Bulls, Penny and Shaq, Reggie's Pacers, Tim Hardaway, Alonzo Mourning, Rex Chapman, the 8th seed Miami Heat, and the Hornets got the 9th seed.
So I'm doing this all off the top of my head.
Yeah.
So Jackson at the time was a starting point guard for the Pacers, who were very good.
Yeah.
So he proved he could be a starting point guard for a really good team. Rick Fox was, I believe, was he with the Lakers already at that point? He was good, though.
He was good.
No, Rick Fox was good.
I mean, he hadn't, he was still those early 2000 championship teams. He was a big part of those teams. So he's,
Yeah. Sealy and Sally were not, like, those were bench guys.
Yeah.
Like, unequivocally bench guys. And then Greg Ostertag obviously was the worst starter on the Jazz. I think the only question is that the worst team in the league? I mean, they don't have an engine. They, like, what's their offense? Are they like, is Mark Jackson posting up every time?
Jackson in the post.
Like, there's not a ton of shooting there.
No,
oh,
goodness.
Tough. Yeah, I think I don't know. With the league hadn't yet expanded to the Grizzlies and they had just expanded to the Grizzlies and the Raptors. Those were the two new teams.
Yep.
Maybe they're better than the Grizzlies. Brian Big Country Reeves, I think was drafted that year for 95-96.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with you. That's not a great team.
It's not good.
It's not a very good team. I mean, their bench isn't that deep. One of the guys, Vernal Singleton, played with Shaq at LSU, but never made it to the league. So they don't have a very deep bench.
They had that Ron Baker lookalike.
Yeah.
With the flowing blonde locks.
Yeah.
I didn't catch his name, but
yeah, I think he was a filler. He was a filler.
I think he was an actor. He was not a basketball player. Like, they couldn't have gotten Gary Payton, like, on the team.
Yeah, I wonder, like, you know, what guys they asked to have, like, a legitimate role that turned it down.
I don't know.
There's not a lot of information, background information about this film on the internet.
You know what makes this movie a lot more interesting? Is if Barkley's in it. If Barkley's in this movie, if we, you know, to borrow from the rewatchables, if we're doing recasting couch, if I could recast, keep John Sally, but like have Barkley on the team as well.
Yeah,
that would be fun.
Barkley, if he was the number one option on the team instead of
that's a playoff team in the East.
It's a playoff team.
It's a playoff team in the East.
Yeah, for sure.
Even with Ostertag.
Yeah. Even with Oster, but you know, then you get maybe a little bit more modern. Rick Fox, Barkley, maybe spreading the court a little bit.
Yeah, that's fair.
Mark Jackson in the post kicking out. I don't know. Maybe it could work. Well, you know what? We're not going to recast that movie, but we're gonna cast a remake right now.
Oh goodness!
All right. So look, we're just gonna throw names against the wall. Okay.
Put me on the spot here. Okay.
Yeah. I'm gonna start it out.
Well, hold on. Can I ask a question?
Yeah. Of course.
Are we recasting? We're recasting purely on like what NBA players do we want to see act in the 2020 version of this movie?
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
All right. So I think probably the best actor out of all the players right now that could carry a movie, I think Blake Griffin probably.
I mean, I haven't seen his stand up. I know he's performed at, what is it, Edinburgh? I want to say is the name of that comedy festival.
I know he's done a big one in Canada.
He's a legit stand up. So yeah. Is he healthy yet?
Well, he might be maybe he's the John Sally.
Maybe he's the John
like that. That's fitting right in. You know,
that is fitting right in. I hope the rest of his career is better than John Sally's was. Okay, no, that's a good start. Okay, I like that.
All right.
Doesn't Kyrie need? I hate to say it. Kyrie he needs to get a role, right?
He's in there somewhere. He's probably in there somewhere.
If we had in Eddie, if we made the Mark Jackson character so lifelike, like true to life, that he had the Bible and he was like preaching verse and whatnot, can't we make Kyrie like the
weird conspiracy
guy?
Yeah,
like the Looney Tune of the locker room.
Yeah.
Like that's fun.
Yeah, for sure. And he has acting chops. You know,
he
did Uncle Drew. So, you know, we got Kyrie, we got Blake. For the stereotypical foreigner, I'm thinking Enes Kanter.
Wow.
Because he's a personality.
Yes, he is. I mean, has he done like WWE? He's gonna end up in WWE at some point.
For sure.
That's perfect.
And to your point, I do think he's done like a cameo in WWE.
He has to have.
I think he has.
Okay, so we have the 1, the 4, and the 5. We need a small forward. Well, talk about acting chops already. I mean, he's filming a different basketball movie at the time, but maybe LeBron's available.
It could be. I mean, LeBron is he might be a better actor than Blake. I mean, Blake's pretty good. His commercials are pretty legit. LeBron was good in that Amy Schumer movie.
I thought he was great in Trainwreck. As was Amari Stoudemire, albeit briefly. Yeah, but if LeBron's in the movie, he takes over the movie. It's not about the coach anymore. It's about LeBron. So maybe we leave LeBron out of this. I don't know. I'm struggling to think of what's J.R. Smith doing. Can we get J.R.?
We 100% could get J.R.
We could probably get J.R. And then we need a wing.
I was thinking Aaron Gordon as like kind of the charismatic, you know, he's kind of the one who's like concerned about his rap videos, the photo shoots, which is
he has to play small forward. He's
four.
Not a power. He's not a 4.
Yeah, he's got to play small forward.
You got to put me into 3, coach. That's his thing in the movie. He's like, I'm not playing the 4.
I'm a wing.
I'm a wing. Make me a wing. I like it. I'll go with all that. That's good. That's pretty good.
And then the Larry Johnson character, I mean, I feel like it's got to be Giannis.
Oh, I have so in a movie, real quick rant. In a movie that has a fan getting hired as a coach,
Yep.
that has an owner buying the team, and then, if my math is correct, 3 months later, selling the team to a group that wants to move them to St. Louis from New York. In a movie that features these things, you want to know what the most unrealistic part of the movie was? When Dennis Farina becomes the Hornets coach and he's in that final thing with Larry Johnson. What does he tell Larry Johnson? He tells Larry Johnson, go in and take out the John Sally character, right? Because Sally's killing him.
New Orleans Saints style. Bounty Gate.
You're not sending in your superstar to go commit a flagrant foul. You're sending in literally anybody else.
Yeah.
You're not sending in Larry Johnson. That is the most unrealistic part of that movie. I just had to say that.
You know, I was going to ask, what is the most unrealistic part? Because there's so many moving pieces.
That's it.
You're making a very good argument for that over selling the New York basketball franchise to St. Louis. I mean, David Stern at this time, if that was even like brought up to him, he might just kick you out of the league right there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would have.
He might put a hit on you.
With a runner-up to, I don't know if you caught this. People Magazine was one of the media outlets in the locker room, just covering a random Knicks game.
Right, it's New York. New York in the 90s.
The next time People Magazine's covering a Knicks game, I'll take note.
Look, man. Who knows when fans and media are allowed back? If there's who knows what the media landscape's going to look like at this point? It could be a free-for-all. It's going to be the Wild West.
Very true. Very true.
People Magazine, they might be the leading sports network coming out of this whole thing. I don't know.
Anything's on the table.
Everything's on the table. All right. Look, I think we could end it there. This was do you have any final thoughts on this?
Final thoughts. Well, I'm going to check my notes here. I had forgot that Danny Manning played for the Suns.
Oh, yeah.
Completely forgot that. I will always remember the first big NBA trade of like my fandom was Dominique to the Clippers, and then in exchange for Danny Manning. So I forgot that he was on the Suns. I believe the word "hoe-monger" was used in this movie.
That's pretty good.
That stood out to me. And yeah, I did, again, is it a good movie? No, it's not a good movie.
No.
But as a relic of an era, did I feel like it was worth my hour and a half? Yes, it was worth my hour and a half.
I think that it holds up. I mean, you're watching this for the first time.
Yeah.
I'm rewatching this movie, and part of me, I'm like, is it the nostalgia that's making me enjoy this?
I think it's more than that.
Yeah.
I think there's like it's not a good movie, but there's like
it's a charm. There's charm to it.
Yeah, there is charm to it. We didn't talk about the scene where she like watches the video of her dad, but like this actually I have to think the 13 or 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, a lot of it was for that scene. That was like kind of touching scene. Anyway, I'm not giving it a strong recommend, but I will say for any Hoops fans out there who have not seen Eddie, go give it a shot.
Look, guys, we're a couple of weeks away, hopefully, from the season resuming with no problems at all. Knock on wood. And until then, and after then, we got nothing but time to watch basketball movies that got an 18% on Rotten Tomatoes, but maybe they were wrong, and it's our job now to go back and fix that. I mean, I'm going to go on Rotten Tomatoes and review it. I'm going to boost the number up. I am going to be the change that,
be the change you want to see in the world. Support Eddie.
Support Eddie. Classic Whoopi Goldberg. She was great, even though she did get nominated for a Razzie, which I guess at the time, the award she was nominated for was Worst Actress in a Film. And I can't handle that slander because I thought she was great. She was everything that I expect out of a Whoopi Goldberg movie in the 90s.
It's a, you know, it's a tough beat coming off the Oscar for Ghost. So just a couple years later.
Couple of years
later. You know, but hey, listen, plenty of superstars have come to the Knicks and got nominated for a Razzie, as it were. So, that's, you know.
Once again, this is the most realistic Knicks movie ever written and produced in Hollywood. That's it. All right, John, thank you so much for joining me. This was I had an amazing time talking about this film that, you know, there's only so many people I can converse with about this film in the world. So I'm honored you were here with me.
Thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun. Can I do a quick plug?
100%.
Yeah. So, speaking of, you know, causes that are, you know, worth, talking about, thinking about, we had a black woman in this movie. I'm doing an upcoming episode of my podcast, in which I am offering any listener who wants a 5-minute spot on the pod in exchange for a $30 donation to Higher Heights for America, which is an organization that is trying to get Black women more involved in politics, both in an official capacity and then also at the voting booth. So if you are interested in appearing on the Knicks Film School podcast, find me on Twitter and DM me. It's JC Macri MBA. And yeah, man, $30 for a good cause. These are times that we are living in right now that we have to take advantage of. And you know, let's try to make it so that things like Black women coaching basketball are not absurd.
100%. That's amazing. Everybody jump on that opportunity. Black Lives Matter, and everybody vote in November, please. All right, guys. Well, rate, subscribe, review, all that stuff. Again, Jonathan, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.